Yeah, good morning, Sarah.
Morning, Sundra. How are you?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
We're fine. We were glad to see Jitapala in Bangkok. He came to one of the discussions and joined us one morning. Sautika Ajan.
Shall we start, please, Sarah?
Yes, please go ahead, anyone. Anne, do you have anything you would like to start with?
I do, actually. Sawadika Tanajan Ka. I was re-listening to the discussion on September the 4th. That was the last discussion in Bangkok. And Ajahn, there was at one point you were speaking and saying something like, the mind door process does not appear after the sense door process, and that's why the world does not show up as it is. That was part of a discussion. Are you able to talk more about that, please?
Is that right? Because now there is seeing. Where's the mind?
Well, it's not showing up.
See, all the time, but it follows each doorway. After seeing process, Bhavanga, and then mind experience the same object, but not see at all. Just experience the same object, share the same object, the replica of that. That's why if mind does not show up, how can there be the understanding of the truth of what is there now? Not anything at all. Because what impinge on the eye base and sees it after it has fallen away and Bhavanka, mind process actually experience the same object, but not by seeing like Sampatitana and Santirana and Atachitta, but it's there all the time. No process can follow the sense process. It has to be mind process. Otherwise, what is there now does not appear as it appears all the time, because mind also experiences the object which has been experienced through the mind instantly all the time. But does it appear mind? That's why it does not appear well at all as it is, because it appears as something, someone all the time, because mind follow many processes to understand what is there by that nimitta of that object, which appears as something continuously all the time. It's like watching movies. What is there is the story, but inside, what is there? Nothing at all. Just different frame of picture so quickly. So now it's just like that. Who knows? Mind or the frame of picture while watching the movies or the TV. Or now, exactly the same. That's why the truth does not appear without understanding of each reality, as it is so different by different conditions. And there is letting go what is there appearing as people and things to be just a moment of that which is experienced to sense thou, and mind just experience the same object. So when mind appears, it understands the very short moment of what is there through the sense as it is. But now it does not appear as it is. That's why whatever now is appearing does not appear well at all. But learn to understand each different reality to be truthful to the truth of each one. We'll let go the clinging to the nimitta, the image of that which is taken for people and things. So now be truthful. Mind experiences the object after sense instantly after Bhavanka, and many processes of mind But now it doesn't appear as that. That's why what is meant by enlighten the truth is the moment of directly understand what is there as no one and no thing. But now the idea of I and people and things so very deeply rooted, how much there is the understanding of each reality as it is, as not anyone, but still it appears as something all the time. So how can it let go? The very deep clinging to that as it is from moment of birth on each life. That's why I understand what is meant by enlightenment. Enlighten the truth of each reality as it is, arising and falling away. So short, so it cannot be anything at all. But when it's so quickly, rapidly fall at one another, it forms up the idea of something that by shape and form of our five doorways. Because seeing cannot know at all what is there. But seeing, just see only that which impinges on the eyelids. That's all. That's all. Be confident of the truth. Otherwise, no way to realize the truth if it's not known little by little to understand more about just one reality at a time, to understand that what is there now. If there's no understanding of what is there, it has to be something all the time. I think I see a life that is there as a cup or a pen all the time in life, years and years ago, until hearing about the truth of what is there now, to be truthful to the truth, conditioned moment of letting go, the idea of something gradually, so very gradual, like holding the knife's handle. See, who knows how much it is worn away. Very little at the time, but at the end, it's worn out, stage by stage. Is that true? Just consider the truth. This is the way to understand what is there as not I. Otherwise, the I would like to know this or that, or doubt about this and that, but all are Dhammas, no one there. If there's no understanding of each reality as it is, how can there be a moment of letting go? The idea of what is seen is not which one takes it for things around at all. That's why Vipassana Jnana is not now when there's so many people around.
When there is more understanding, will the mind door process, does the mind door process appear?
Does it appear now?
No.
See the truth, no understanding.
Yeah, I realize that, yes.
So natural as it is.
Yeah.
That's why even the moment of not understanding is a reality. It's there.
Yeah.
The tree cannot understand anything. It does have ignorance and any moment of experiencing an object because it's the rupa. But there is a reality for sure is there now. Experience what is there. So that which arises to experience moment of seeing is a reality. And then at moment of thinking, it's not seeing, has come. And where's the seeing? Everything gone, never to arise again. In samsara, just one moment in samsara. Is that true? Just developing the understanding, and the understanding develops gradually. It works its way to let go wrong understanding and ignorance. At moment of understanding only. That's why the path has to be right understanding. The Ariya Satya, the fourth one, is now at moment of understanding. We don't know how long will it take to realize the truth, but at moment of realizing, there is the understanding of how come there must be the parami, the factors for enlightenment developed to let go the clinging and ignorance of what is there now. So now it's not that moment, but it will lead to that moment when there's more understanding and letting go. That's why life continue on naturally by conditions, because understanding that only understanding can understand the truth of what is there now as it is. Even minder, see, if it's not moment of vipassana jnana, can minder appear?
I'm thinking not.
It's by conditions, and not
Yes.
certainly unexpected. Who knows what would be next moment? Even that is not known. So what are accumulated from years and years ago, condition each moment from now, another moment pop up by condition suddenly. And how can there be the understanding of that when it's not right understanding to understand each reality gradually? That's why the purpose, the aim, the point of hearing the truth is just to understand whether it's true or not. And understanding is no one. It's only when there is hearing, considering wisely, beginning to understand what is true and what is not true, because it's now in daily life. Without understanding what is there now at a moment in daily life, it's important. It's cannot understand anything at all, because even that is there now is not understood. So how can there be the understanding of any moment in the future? That's why it begins from understanding, and understand that even that is a reality which can understand what is there as it is, gradually, firmly. Thira sanya. So firm sanya, not to forget that even right now, it's just a moment. What is like gone unknowingly all the time from moment to moment, but it can be known gradually from the word of the enlightened one who had enlightened the truth. So each word from his enlightenment, we can understand what is said now, whether it's true or not just to believe and not to try, but understand conditions for even this moment and next moment, unexpectedly, anatta all the way. So just one word can lead to enlightenment to the degree of arahata, because it's the truth of what is there now. So it depends on right understanding. Is there any understanding of the truth at all? Or is it just begin to understand the truth, just one reality at a time? For example, just one word, Dhamma. See, what does it mean? Everything is that which is there by conditions. And each one has its own characteristic by conditions, or by conditions. So what is now goes on by conditions, no matter in what country or this person or that person or what is there, or by conditions. That's why learn to understand the absolute truth. There is no one, but there are different realities. One kind is that which arises through experience. It arises and it has to to experience, because it's the reality which is real. It arises to experience. Who can stop its way or change its way? Impossible. But learn to understand it's there by conditions. Learn to understand what conditions what in other in order to let go the idea of something from that. Otherwise, how can there be letting go the idea of self, which means idea of something or someone right now?
Right now, idea of something, someone, for sure.
That's why from this moment on, a moment on and on of understanding, one day when time comes, it's a moment of enlightened truth. No doubt how come to be that very moment, no matter how long it will take, to understand what is there any time in natural life. Come alive now. It's there already. Can anyone change? Thinking about changing it, even thinking it's conditioned to think that way, to turn right or to turn left. Any moment, all are dhammas, different dhammas. It has its own characteristic that can be known little by little. Without understanding intellectually of the truth, how can it condition moment of directly understand what is there now, because it's there now, which can be understood. And this is what Buddha taught. This is the Ariya Satya. And this is whatever he taught to understand the truth. Because just one word cannot let go the idea of self or ignorance at all. Because there are so many layers of akusala. This moment, they're seeing, no understanding of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting all day. So how much ignorance of whatever is there, on and on, added and added, pile up from moment to moment. So it takes viriya as parami, understand the truth, that the truth can be known. So it's time to think about it when we have discussion. But after that, what about the understanding? It depends on conditions. There can be a moment of even thinking in terms of the anicca. It's not permanent. It's there by conditions, anatta. Gradually, little by little, in life, on and on, until it's more and more. Naturally, be aware of what is there with understanding. And this is what is meant by bhavana, the development of understanding what is there as it is. And parami, with our patience, with our virya, with our sattva, with our abhidhamma, it's impossible to have moment of more understanding, clear understanding of what is there now as it is.
Thank you, Ajahn. That's wonderful. Thank you. It is such a long process.
Yes, but it's so true that a moment of understanding just a little can condition iti, understanding the truth. Otherwise, it's ignorance. No matter how much understanding is, it can develop on and on and on by conditions. Seeing the value of the moment of understanding what is there now, which hasn't been understood before at all. Even a little, but it can be gradually developed on and on and on and on by conditions. And now it is parami, panya barami, at moment of understanding. Viriya barami, without viriya, there cannot be moment of following the word, the sound, and voice consideration, of that which is now as it is, and so on. Too little, nekama burden, ignorance, and all kinds of akusala. And at the end, all kinds of kusala, which are the causes of whatever is there, to begin again, arise again, continue again, in the wrong way or in the right way, by conditions.
And all this has to begin with listening and considering a lot.
With more confidence of the truth
Right.
and
Yes.
one of understanding. Very
Yes.
gradually, but it can be very firm until it conditions moment of understanding what is there directly now. Get closer and closer and closer to the closest reality, which is there now. Very close. Nothing is as close as seeing right now, hearing right now.
Yes, for sure. It's always there.
And that's the meaning of opanayiko, coming
sorry?
closer to the truth.
What was the word you used, Tanajan? Oh,
Opanayiko.
Opanayiko.
Okay, I haven't heard that. That means getting closer to the truth.
It's one of the epithets or descriptions, attributes of the Dhamma, the long
Okay.
list of attributes. And
Oh.
opanayiko is one of them.
Look that up. Thank you.
And Anne, back to your original question. In theory, at least, intellectually at least, I'm sure you have no doubt that after the seeing process, there are countless mind door processes and so on. But
Right.
it seems at this moment that the world is light all the time.
Yeah.
So it's in this sense that the eye door process covers up the mind door process. It seems that the visible object lasts because there isn't
Yes.
the direct understanding of the falling away of the visible object of the
Right.
light at each moment. But in
Right.
fact, after each moment of seeing and the following sense door cheetahs, there are countless processes of thinking about what's
Yes.
seen, thinking about the shape and form, thinking about the color, thinking
Mhm.
about the image, the idea, and so on. But what is their understanding of it? Still seems that it's light. It still seems that the sound heard is
Yes.
continuous. So this is what is meant. So intellectually, there's no question, no doubt, I'm sure for you that after seeing there is lots of thinking because we've heard it so many times, but it's a question of what there is understanding of now. So
Yes.
when there is thinking, it is in the mind or process. So there can be understanding of thinking right now. There can be
Yes.
understanding of kindness. There can be understanding of pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling.
Mhm.
So all these realities are understood in the mind or process, but without any understanding, it just seems that it's light. It just seems that the sound lasts. So when the understanding develops and when it's clear, then it's apparent that most of the time there is mind or process cheetahs arising, experiencing the objects. The moment of seeing is just one moment that's so brief and then gone. Moment of hearing is so brief. And most of the time there is thinking, dreaming all the time in the day as well as at night with just these brief sense door processes in between. So then it's more like the mind door process covering up the sense door process because there's much, much more mind door activity. I think that some people find the wording difficult. Like I think when we were in Bangkok once, someone had the idea that the mind door being covered up meant the mind door cheetah, like the base. And so sometimes there is some confusion, but actually it means all the thinking or the experiencing through the mind door is not realized because of the sense door objects seeming to last and seeming to cover up.
A few seconds ago, you said something about there can be understanding now, and I, by that, well, I maybe picked it up wrong, but there we can understand now when there's metta, or there's what else? Metta. Let's take metta for the example. And I'm presuming that there you are, when there's metta, we get a sense that there's metta, but there's certainly no direct understanding of it.
So it's just intellectual understanding then, but the understanding begins with the intellectual understanding, with the pariyatti understanding. There has to be this is why we hear about the different details, the different processes, because there's no question that there is thinking now, there's metta now, there's boredom now, there are different
and we know
mind door cheetahs now, but it's only at the level, if it's only at the intellectual level, then there is doubt in between. Well, what exactly is meant, or is there really this mind door process after each eye door process, and question after question. But when the understanding becomes firmer, and as Ajahn mentioned, tira sanya, when it's not forgetful, and there's firm remembrance of what appears now, then when the understanding is direct, then no question that these different realities appear through the mind door, different from the objects through the sense doors. But it has to begin. So when you say, oh, there's no understanding at all, that means no direct understanding, no clear understanding. So I'm just pointing out that the understanding actually is developing, but it's not firm enough. That's why there are these doubts and questions about it, but it is developing. It's not like this. Yes, and the confidence develops with the understanding firmer and firmer. And it is that firm intellectual understanding, the firm pariyatti understanding, the satya that conditions the direct understanding. And so that there's less and less doubt, no question of what is experienced through the mind or on the sense door, but not as clear as when it's vipassana jnana.
No, it wouldn't be. When Ajahn mentioned something about, is there ignorance now? And I can't even remember exactly what it was, but yes, but that's not direct knowledge of direct understanding of ignorance. It's just
an assumption that probably there's ignorance.
Well, it is an assumption, that was saying. I'd be willing to
most of the time there is ignorance and there is a clinging, but at moments of wise considering or wise reflection or appreciating that there are moments of thinking, not just seeing all the time, those moments of understanding, there's no ignorance at those moments. So we can say yes, but different moments, different cheetahs.
Yes, and ignorance, an awareness of it at at different levels.
Yes.
Completely different. Yeah. Thank you. It's helpful. Very.
I think the confidence that develops with understanding is important. Otherwise, one just listens and there's more and more doubt and, thinking nothing is understood and it's just ignorant all the time. But actually, without some understanding having developed, one wouldn't be here listening and questioning and considering wisely. So it's developing, but it's not strong or firm enough for it to be so obvious that actually there isn't sense-store process all the time, but
Yes.
in theory, intellectually, actually, you know, this, I think it's just the wording.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think so. And it is, and even with some intellectual understanding, yet one can see more confidence. And that yes, that's definitely a huge factor. I can see that.
Like if someone says to you, oh, it's you or I or someone that sees and thinks now, you'll say, no, that's not right, because it's obvious that actually there's no one to be found, that it's just seeing that sees and thinking that thinks. So there's confidence that it's true that that is right.
Yes.
But then something is heard that's sounds a little strange, or the language is different, and the moments of doubt and questioning, but the confidence is developing with the understanding, for sure.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Tadao, do you have anything you would like to bring up today?
Yes, I have one question. Often it is said that we have to see nimitta. And also we heard that we have to see the difference between nama and rupa. I don't know how these two things are related. Are they two different things or the same thing? It's my question.
Actually, it's the same, because we say there has to be understanding of what is nama and what is rupa. Like, I think we had a discussion at the weekend when we were talking with someone who was maybe quite new to the Dhamma, and we're talking about understanding the difference between seeing and visible object, and how only one reality appears at a time. There cannot be understanding of seeing when there's understanding of visible object. There cannot be the understanding of sound when there's understanding of visible object or hearing. So distinction has to be known, and only one reality can be known at a time. But when we consider a little more, then we understand that actually it's always the nimitta of the reality that appears. For example, the seeing experiences visible object and is gone instantly. So how does the seeing appear? Because when understanding arises, there's no seeing, it's gone completely. Actually, countless moments of seeing have gone, but it's the nimitta, the sign of the characteristic of seeing, which is known, which appears. It's the sign of metta that is known, the pleasant feeling, the unpleasant feeling. When there is dosa, how can there be any understanding with dosa? But the characteristic of dosa can be known by its nimitta. So it's always the nimitta of reality that is actually the object of understanding that is known. Countless moments of annoyance arise and fall away, but the characteristic can be known by the nimitta. So it's like this for any reality. And even for the Buddha, seeing can only be known by its nimitta. So even when we're talking about the very clear understanding of vipassana jnana, it's always the nimitta of reality that appears. So there's no contradiction. The difference between nama and rupa has to be known, but it's known by understanding those namas, those realities as they are, by way of the nimitta of their characteristics when they appear.
Okay. Thank you. Very clear.
Couldn't Shall we talk just about one word about Dhamma? Because Dhamma is so very, very subtle. There can be more understanding of just one reality from hearing again and again and consider again and again to understand firmly what is the truth of what is there as it is. So, what is the word that you'd like to understand a little more? Or it's clear, all right?
Yeah, I'd like to understand what nimitta is, what nama is.
Okay, just
what-
one word, right?
Okay, nimitta.
Okay. What is seen now?
Things.
Seeing sees what?
In my case, seeing, sees
Seeing sees what now?
things and people.
Okay. Can people be seen?
Yes, it's my experience.
So, what can be seen?
It's so hard to see that there are no
No,
beings.
just to understand. To be truthful to the truth right now, in order to understand the subtlety of realities, is so deep. Otherwise, it seems like we understand the meaning of the word, but in truth, it's not the understanding of the truth of what is there at all. As it is, it's not as it appears. So, right now, they're seeing what is seen. Is there anything seen?
Yes,
Otherwise, how can there be the understanding of nimitta? It's not just a word to remember, but it's now.
yes,
See now.
yeah, but concepts,
No, no. What is seen? What is seen now? There is seeing, and what seeing sees. What seeing sees. No one sees, but seeing sees. What is that which seeing sees?
seeing should see visual object, but
Okay,
yeah,
okay. That which is seen is visual, right?
yes,
Because it's seen and it is a reality which can be seen. The sound cannot be seen, hardness cannot be seen. So what is seen is just a reality. Is it real, that which is seen?
yes.
Why it's real?
Because it seems that visual object seems to appear. So there must
That is thinking many words. But
Yeah.
that which is seen is there, so real. Otherwise, there cannot be anything which can be seen at all. But since there is a reality which cannot be heard or touched, it only can be seen. It's real at moment of seeing. Is that right?
yes,
So what is the actual that which is seen?
it must be a visual object.
We think about that. But it has to be the reality which impinges on the eye base. Is that right?
Yes,
To understand a little better. So there must be eye base, and that which can impinge on it. Can the shoe impinge on the eye base?
yes,
The shoes, the pen, the plate, can it impinge on the eyebase?
No.
That's right. Beginning to understand what is there in order to understand the nimitta of what is there now appearing. At moment of seeing, it's only that which is so very, very little, but it can be seen, impinge on the eyebase, right? And it conditions seeing to arise and experience it that has impinged on the ibis only. Is that right?
Yes.
At that moment, is it a plate or a pen?
No, they are concepts.
So there are so many moments of seeing right now. Is that right?
Yes.
Or just one moment?
Many moments.
Many moments. So what is there? Seeing is like a dot. At moment of it continue on, many, many dots. It conditions the image of that which appears, right?
Yes.
But that is not the moment of thinking. It's moment of that is not moment of seeing. It's moment of thinking. Different ways. So
Yes.
the seeing cannot understand at all. Cannot know. Cannot know what is there as nimitta, as something. But it experiences, arises, and experiences only that which impinges on the eyebase, right?
Yes.
And this is the absolute truth. Nobody knows without hearing and considering about this absolute truth of what is there, little by little, to understand what is the world, what is a moment from birth to death, and on, keep on going on by conditions. No one can stop, but all gone. No one at all, from moment to moment, from life to life. But there can be the understanding, beginning to understand what is there now in order to understand life, in order to understand each moment in life. That it appears as not it is because of the rapidity of the moment of experiencing the object, uncountable beyond expectation. That's why from seeing instantly, as one opens one's eye, is there everything. And what is the truth of that? It has to be each moment of seeing, like a dot, until what is seen appear as things, not just one, so many things around. By thinking about that which appears as nimitta, the sign, the shape and form of that which is seen. So we live in the world of nimitta, is that right?
Yeah.
So what is there now is not nimitta.
But I live in the world of thinking.
So is thinking nimitta of thinking?
No, it is not.
Why? Just one word, can it be thinking about things, people?
Yeah.
That's why without the enlightenment of the Buddha, how can there be such words to think about the truth? That it can be known, but it's so very subtle. It has to be right understanding only to understand the absolute truth of what is there as it is. That's why learn to be truthful to the truth, more confidence of the truth, that what is life, what is the world, what is there, nothing at all. But there are conditions for whatever arises and falls away all the time. Is that true?
Yes.
So no doubt about nimitta now, nimitta of everything. Because just one moment of experiencing an object doesn't appear as it is by way of the different processes. It has to follow by conditions to experience the object from moment to moment, sense and mind and from birth to life, And after that, on and on. No one can stop the conditions for whatever arises. Until there's no more condition for whatever arises, nothing can arise. So what appears now?
Yeah, I have no doubt about nimitta and nama.
Okay, now, no doubt about nimitta at all.
Yeah,
Can nimitta be object of enlightenment?
yeah, it should.
What is meant by enlightenment?
Seeing realities as they are.
So it's not nimitta of a reality, or it is nimitta of a reality.
I think seeing nimitta as nimitta is the same thing as seeing realities as they are.
By way of experiencing the nimitta with understanding.
Yes,
Because after seeing, there cannot be right panya or right understanding followed instantly at all. Right?
yes.
That's why so many processes of seeing condition the nimitta of seeing to be understood. The characteristic of that which experiences is not that which is experienced.
But at moments of enlightenment to Tao, what do the Lokuttara Citas experience?
Lokuttara Citta, Magga Citta has Nibbana as an object.
So does Nibbana have nimitta?
It must, no,
It's the animita Dhamma. So at
no.
moments of enlightenment, no nimitta, because
Either.
Nibbana is the object.
One of the three characteristics become an object of Magga Citta and Phala Citta.
The Magga and Phala Citas just directly experience Nibbana.
Yeah.
No characteristic of impermanence or dukkha, because it's just the reality of Nibbana, the citta, the Dhamma that doesn't arise and fall away, doesn't have nimitta, just Nibbana itself.
My understanding is different. My understanding is that Magga Citta and Phala Citta experience one of the characteristics of realities, that is non-self and suffering and impermanent.
That is just prior to the Lokuttara Citas arising, just immediately before the Gotrabhu Citta arises and the Lokuttara Citas arise that experience Nibbana.
Yeah. So
when it can be any object that appears, and one of the characteristics of that reality becomes apparent before the Lokuttara Citas arise and directly experience the animita Dhamma, which is not impermanent and not dukkha. Nibbana.
Magga and Phala Citta has
Nibbana as object.
Okay, thank you.
So what doesn't have nimitta?
What does it have?
What reality doesn't have nimitta?
Probably Nibbana.
The only animita Dhamma, the only reality without any nimitta. So the original question that Ajahn asked was, what about at enlightenment? So at any other moment of understanding, it is the nimitta of reality. But at enlightenment, when the Maggacitas arise, it is nibbana, not the nimitta of reality
Oh, good,
that
good.
appears.
Okay, thank you.
So, can that which does not arise have nimitta?
No. So Nibbana is Nimitta.Dhamma. It doesn't have nimitta.
Can anything which does not arise have nimitta?
Anything which arises and falls away have nimitta.
Can that which doesn't arise at all, no condition for its arising, have nimitta?
No, 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 it doesn't.
That's why we learn to understand what is there now in order to understand more and more clearer and clearer until there can be moment of enlightened the truth at level of Nibbana experience. So what is seen as Kun Tadao or Kun Sara, Kun An, what
No,
is seen,
no, for me, nimitta doesn't appear. What appears?
different visible object as
Yeah.
nimitta, right?
Yeah.
So we live in the world of ignorance, in darkness, no understanding of what is there at all, thinking there is permanent thing like I and things, but in truth, nothing is there. After it has arisen, it falls away instantly. Is
Yeah.
that true?
Yes, yes.
More confidence of Sankhara Dhamma.
Yes.
So what is Sankhara Dhamma?
It arises and falls away. Nothing is permanent.
Whatever arises is conditioned by many conditions.
Yes,
It means that whatever arises is conditioned by many conditions, other reality arising together, unknown until study and understand just one reality at a time, to have confidence of the truth that what is there now is covered up by ignorance and clinging. And it would take quite a long time to really understand just one reality at a time until all realities are known as they are just only conditioned realities arising and falling away. Can anyone stop the way it is?
no.
Okay, that's why no one can stop death and so on. Whatever arises, death is just a moment arising to end up. The personality that is conditioned by one karma to be this person, never to arise again. So it's clear now about nimitta.
Yes. Intellect,
The movie is playing on, not just on the screen.
yeah. But it's hard to experience.
They are also very subtle. Even it's now arising and falling away. It does not arise or appear as it is. not as it is, so very quickly, arising and falling away all the time. What appears outside is that as nimitta, the succession from moment to moment to form up the image of something or idea.
Yes.
And Panyati,
Yes, it's all the time. It always panyati.
and what is Panyati?
Thinking.
Mhm. Of
Things and beings.
it makes known as different ones, that is shoe, that is egg, that is plate.
Yes.
That's why we learn to understand the truth of what is there as it is, to enlighten the truth.
But it's hard to experience.
You are praising the virtues of the Buddha, the enlightened one. Without his teachings, without his kindness, compassion, how can there be understanding of what is there now as it is? So paying respect to the Buddha at moment of understanding the truth from him, from his words.
Yeah.
And know him more when there is the understanding of the truth.
Yes.
And see more of his words. Who sees Dhamma sees me.
Yeah.
That's his truth.
Go ahead, Zita.
Good morning, everybody. Sawadee-ka, Tanachan. I would very much like to pay my respects to the Buddha, his teachings, and also to you, Ajahn, for sharing his teachings. This week, I have been reading the compendium of the cognitive process in Pali, Viti Sangaha Vibhaga, and it's taking me about 2 weeks to read 20 pages, and I have to keep going back over the detailed description of the mind door process. And as I've been reading, I've been thinking, you know, you said it a little earlier, that the Buddha did not actually see the realities themselves. He saw the nimitta. But to know all of these realities so clearly, and then be able to pass it on to us, many people, I'm just, you know, this week has been, I'm just so thankful to the Buddha for passing on to us, you know, all of this knowledge. And just earlier, Anne, you were asking about mind or process. I don't know if you have the compendium of comprehensive manual of Intl.Dhamma, but in there on page 164, it gives a good description of, I'll put it on the chat side.
Thank you.
And so a question I have, Ajahn, was about those 8 worldly conditions. And I read that somewhere, but I'm not sure what was in this chapter. And I thought, yes, gain and loss, praise and blame, loss and gain. I said that. Anyway, the 8 worldly conditions. And I hadn't thought very much about it, but this particular passage said that also the 8 worldly conditions, but it's the reactions to those particular conditions that are what's important. And I hadn't really thought, like for gain, you know, there's somanassa, and loss, there's probably domanassa and dosa. And I hadn't really thought about them, but it was a very good reminder that those things, those 8 worldly conditions are going on every day. Yes, yeah. Going on every day, yes.
In fact, any conventional situation in a day could be seen in one or other of those terms, if you want to kind of analyze it. Not that I'm suggesting that's something that should be done, but because they are conceptual rather than realities.
The actual those 8 worldly conditions are conceptual.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what came to me with this little comment, that it's the jeta seekers that follow, jittas and jeta seekers that follow on. Yes, quite enlightening in the conventional sense. And there was also something that came up, maybe it was one day last week or the week before, in one of the discussions at the foundation. And it was about thinking. And Jonathan, I think it was you that said jitta thinks. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. But the more I've thought about it, what else could it be? And I think also there was a comment that thinking is probably not a good description, because, I mean, we think, you know, the things that we think about, Dhamma discussions, what's going on outside, blah, blah, blah. But thinking in the Dhamma sense is quite different. You know, objects are experienced and then they fall away, and then there's more objects. And in fact, this article in the compendium of the cognitive process deals with the mind door process, and it's really enlightening. It actually even gives the Pali, I won't go into it now, but it even gives the Pali for the different mind door processes and what they're experiencing. And I think it was through reading that, I thought thinking it's a conventional word, but we don't have another word that would be so descriptive as that thinking, as far as I can see. But I think when you said jitta think, at first I was puzzled, and then I thought, well, yes, it must be, because with a collection of jeta seekers as well, as in vitika and vichara.
Yeah. So thinking can describe the kind of mental thinking that has thoughts, thinking about the past and the future. But there are also mind door processes that that experience the sense door objects and form concepts of what is being seen or heard. And we use the term thinking loosely to cover those as well, but this is not a Dhamma term, thinking as such, but it's just a way we have of describing the mind door processes.
Yes,
Thanks for those.
This particular page in the compendium of the cognitive process on 164, it's actually quite good.
Okay, thanks. I'll have a look.
Okay, thank you.
What you described about the worldly conditions, the praise and blame, the gain and loss, and so on. So even the Arahat has good health, bad health, praise, blame, and so on, but no, not disturbed on account of it, no domanassa at all, no disturbance, no proliferation with conceit or lobha on account. So this is the point, that it's the akusala that follows the lobha, the dosa, that is the real problem. So that's daily life. There are always going to be ups and downs and praise and blame, pleasant, unpleasant moments. But what about the chittas? What about kusala or akusala that follows? Actually, what's heard are just different sounds, but it's taken as being praise and blame. It's taken for being good and bad, but it's just sound that's heard. And the same with what is seen.
And that does happen very quickly. Following on a bit from Tadau's discussion, you know, we hear something and immediately it's either like or dislike, and ready to sort of defend oneself or be happy about what was heard. So it does take a long time for that understanding to grow and no, it is just sound, or not to jump in. I think not to jump in and with a retort or you know, a thank you or whatever.
And this is what is meant by the sense door covering the mind door, because actually the hearing of sound is just for a moment. And then there's so much thinking, not even in words in the beginning, about what has been heard, the kind of sound, the impression of the sound, the car sound, the person sound, the words, the meaning, and so on. But actually the hearing of the sound was just a moment, and the rest is all the mind door activity that follows. And it's the same for the other worldly conditions like painful bodily feeling, just for a moment, but so much thinking about my aches and pains and lingering pain and problem with the cold or this or that. So the sense door covers up the mind door when there's a lot of ignorance. There's no understanding. It's just a moment of unpleasant, painful feeling for an instant and then gone. Just tangible object that is experienced for a moment, and then the rest is all the thinking through the mind door, countless chittas in countless mind door processes that follow again and again. And when it is the hardness that appears, or the painful feeling, has to be the nimitta of that reality that appears.
Life in samsara is rather difficult and unsatisfactory.
Better to know.
Yeah.
And how much understanding of the truth?
Ajahn, do you mean this moment, how much understanding, or how much is needed?
That moment of seeing life as not as pleasant as it is and so on.
I think there's some understanding, otherwise I probably wouldn't have said that. But because things, you know, even pleasant feeling, that goes really quickly. And then unpleasant feeling, it also goes really quickly. So there must be some understanding that they arise and fall away. It's not direct understanding, but there must be some understanding that samsara is difficult and suffering, even the good bits, because they don't last.
If this moment is not as one think, as it's so not as pleasant as one takes, can there be the moment of understanding the word unsatisfactoriness?
I guess so. It might be different moments, because the moment of feeling that it's unsatisfactory is possibly dosa, but there can be moment following that realizes, well, it's just dosa towards the unsatisfactoriness of it.
So when one says that life is satisfactory or unsatisfactory, it depends on right understanding of the truth, right?
Yes, Ajahn, yes.
And no matter the word of truth is in the text or in the book commentaries or anywhere, it has to be considered carefully to understand, not just by this person or from this book, but the truth is there all the time.
Yes, Ajahn.
So when reading about anything, it's time to consider the truth, whether it's true or not. And is there anything that Buddha didn't realize?
There was nothing at all that the Buddha did not know.
No doubt about the process, about whatever is there. Otherwise, no teaching about that at all.
Mm. Yes, I think the Buddha is worthy of the highest respect ever, because the Buddha knew everything, and the Buddha also passed on his knowledge to us, to also understand the truth.
So it's quite pity to understand the truth that can develop more.
Sometimes there was, I can't remember where it was. There was a comment about we can't choose who we associate with on a day-to-day basis. And that's true. But sometimes I get caught up with people and start talking about the government or kings and queens, and as it was once said in a sutta. But then I realized this is not conducive, or this is just rubbish talk, really. Which is, I suppose it's a good thing to realize, but and I think my speech maybe has got a lot less critical of other people, I hope.
So Panya is then working its way, little by little. No one there to understand the truth in daily life, in different manners, different aspects. Without right understanding, can there be such moment?
No, I think not, unless there are accumulations for speaking gently.
That's why before there can be direct understanding of the truth of what is there now, it takes so many conditions as part of me developing in its own way, little by little, to understand what is there in life until it's clearer and clearer.
Yes, Ajahn.
Without even such moment, how can there be a little more understanding of the truth?
Well, I think there can't be, because you often remind us little by little, slowly. So those precious little moments of some understanding that this is not okay to say this, I think that's that could be a blessing.
And to be truthful to the truth, even that is not enough, because the truth is there, unknown directly as it is yet.
And I think the more one sees that sort of very, very weak understanding happening, I think there's more knowing how long the past is, because those moments of a little bit of understanding, or shutting one's mouth when one should, it's so brief that it just takes a very long time to develop the understanding.
That's why understanding the subtle way to let go the idea of self, any kusala moment with right understanding, different aspects, develop gradually in its own way, little by little, to understand this moment. Different degrees of understanding too. As thinking about it, it's not permanent, it's conditioned and so on. Until it's so firm to let go by understanding more and more and more. No one, no me, no I.
I can see how that would work if as normal putujana, we're attached to this and that and everything else. And if this developing knowing that these moments arise and fall away and never return, there has to be letting go. I mean, why if there's knowledge of the falling away, would there be continued attachment? But it's not until arahat that completely, complete letting go. But I'm very grateful to you, Achan, for continuing to point out these truths to us. It's so, so, so valuable, more valuable than anything I've come across in this life.
And that's the way intellectual understanding develops in daily life until it's firmer and firmer to condition moment of direct understanding of what is there as what we learned and understood. Yes.
Yes, I think, the kanti, the patience is important. But that comes along, I guess, when there's, more understanding, it just automatically, well, there's nothing can be done. There is no me. There is only just these realities, and nothing can be done to change it. And it's easy to say that because a lot of the day I'm trying to manipulate events. But that can be known also.
That's a good example too of how, as Jan mentioned, the panya works its way and affects the manners and different aspects, because the gradual less clinging to the idea that I can manipulate, I can control, begins to have an effect. One knows that begins to realize that actually no I that can manipulate or can arrange or make anything happen at all. And like you mentioned with the example of being critical of others before and being less critical, because the Panya begins to appreciate the problem is all here and now. The thinking with the dosa, the not liking the other's behavior and so on. The problem is not the other, it's one's own. It all comes back to the citta now, and how beginning to understand that even the moments of kusala or kindness are just dhammas. They don't belong to me. They don't belong to anyone. It helps a lot just in daily life, begins to work its way more and more. I think I've forgotten what the phrase was Ajahn said when we were in Thailand in one of the discussions, but just be happy with what is now, because what is conditioned is what is there already. What's the point of wishing for another kind of seeing, another kind of hearing, another kind of sound? So understanding what is there now means being content, being happy with what is now. And that's why the more understanding, the more piti, the more kusala piti arises. So even though there's more understanding of more ignorance and more suffering and samsara and so on, but actually there's more joy because less clinging, less ignorance, little by little, a little more letting go.
That comment you just made about it's arisen already, that's always puzzled me a little bit too, you know. Well, it's risen already, you can't make it arise.
Right.
And I thought, well, I couldn't figure it out by thinking about it, but reading, you know, getting some background knowledge on it, you can see there's absolutely no control over these processes of jittas and jetasikas arising. Even the fact that a gusala jitta or agusala cannot be followed by a certain other jitta. There has to be a jitta in between, like a bridge between. Who can control that? I mean, it's just, that's the reality of jittas, sense door processes, mind door processes, door freed processes. Just they arise and fall, along with the jetasikas. No control whatsoever. So in a way, it's a real relief.
Nothing that can, nothing to be done.
I don't have to try and save the world or, you know, support the refugees. It's just
no I to do anything at all. And
exactly.
That's why without the understanding of the reality that appears now, there can never be the understanding of dhammas as anatta. No one there at all. Whilst one just thinks conventionally, it seems I can choose whether to order this or that for lunch. But when it comes down to seeing now, hearing now, kindness, meanness now, each reality is conditioned, not in anyone's control, no one there at all.
Clear. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Acharya.
And to dial back to Nama and Rupa briefly, so sometimes there is confusion when people hear about understanding difference between Nama and Rupa. One just thinks in terms of the different characteristics of Nama and Rupa, but it's now, the seeing now, the moment of experiencing what is visible is different from what is visible. So it's not about the term or label Nama, Rupa, but understanding the reality of seeing now and understanding what is seen now, just as it is, the characteristic of what is seen that has impinged on eye sense, and it has to be the nimitta. So it's just about the understanding of the realities we've heard that appear, right now. That's all.
Just another little comment. It's very good to be back on our Monday morning discussion. It feels really good. I mean, the discussions over the last 2-3 weeks has been really, really amazing. Thank you, everybody.
So look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yeah, I agree, Azita. It's wonderful to be back to it. As soon as the discussions were over on the 4th, I missed them terribly. So it's good to get back to the Monday ones for sure. And thank you, everyone who was participating and who participates today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.